Welcome back to B&B Movie Reviews. We are halfway through the year, so it's time for our mid-year report. We give you our top movies of the year so far and preview what we are anticipating in the back half of 2023. Don't go anywhere. B&B is up next. Welcome to our mid-year report. This is a good time for us to look back on the last 6 months of the year in movies and if our anticipation met our expectations as we look forward to what is coming soon to theaters and the ones we're excited to see. So, Brad.
Yes.
To 2023.
Yeah, it's been an interesting year. Would you say it's been a great year so far for movies, an okay year for movies, or not so good year for movies?
It's funny because looking at the first 6 months, I would say the summer so far has been a little disappointing.
Okay.
But the first half, like maybe the first 4 months of the year, has been pretty, I don't know if it's been great, but it's been pretty good.
Did you struggle to pick five?
No. I've had a top five. I actually think I have a solid top 10.
Oh, already.
And we could talk a little bit about, after we talk about our top fives, we can talk about some of our kind of honorable mentions that we also have as well.
If the year ended today, I would not have a solid top 10.
Really?
I would have a solid top 5, which you're about to hear.
Okay.
But a 10, I wouldn't be happy with it.
So looking at 2023, I go back to our most anticipated movies coming into the year that we did at the close of 2022. And we were looking at this year and talking about, and specifically about all of the big movies coming out this summer, because we were talking about the movie theaters. Are the movie theaters going to come back with all the movies and we are in the middle of the summer. And looking at where we are now,
it's been a rough box office.
It's been a rough box office.
Yeah.
So it's
Or one out for Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
he's done for.
It's interesting to see coming into this year how we thought, the movie theaters were going to thrive with all of these big budget movies coming back, and in seeing how people haven't really been coming back to the theaters in the way that we thought they would.
They're making choices, and they are showing up for certain movies, but other movies. We're like, nah, Indiana Jones, that's a boomer film. We're not interested in that. And some of these, like I was really disappointed by the Joyride box office because I thought, oh, maybe raunchy comedies will come back. And even though I had issues with that film, I wanted that film to succeed because I'd like to see more things like that. But yeah, I mean, it's rough out there. I
know, and it feels like we had some really heavy hitters or some really great movies in the springtime. January is always an iffy month.
I thought it was a pretty great month, though.
But we had a lot of fun.
We
had a lot of fun. Plane, Megan, Missing.
Yep.
It was a lot.
Otto, you really liked that one.
And that's still top of my list. I really responded.
I don't want to spoil anything there.
Yeah, it's not. We won't talk about it as far as my top 5.
Okay.
But yeah, A Man Called Otto is a movie I really like. So it's interesting that, for me, I think that we've had some really solid movies from January up until June, July, where we are now. So I guess we can kind of start talking about some of the movies that are in our top 5.
Start with our 5?
Yeah, let's start with our 5. I'll let you go ahead, man.
I think this has been a great year for action movies.
Okay.
All right, Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning Part 1, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Sisu.
Okay.
My number 5.
Okay.
My number 5, John Wick Chapter 4. John Wick Chapter 4. Keanu Reeves, he is back.
Yes.
Directed again by Chad Stahelski. I think the action in this film is elevated from what we got in the last batch of John Wick movies, which is saying something because those movies are utterly insane. I think that the emotions are there for this film. I think Keanu Reeves has never been better as John Wick than he is in this. And then we get a great supporting cast, like the introduction of Donnie Yen, an icon into this story, and the way that his character plays off of Keanu's character. Perfection.
It's John Wick is, I believe, is my number 4. I have to check my list, but it's definitely in my top 5. I believe John Wick right now is my number 4 movie of the year. And everything that you said, I love about John Wick. The thing that kind of solidified it for me, and a little bit of spoilers because this movie is a little bit older, so I will spoil John Wick a little bit. I won't try not to give too many spoilers.
Don't be too cruel.
But it's the final duel with Kane.
Yeah.
And those final moments that really sell this movie and the character and the journey that John Wick goes on. And I thought that the direction by Chad Stahelski, the performance, the relationship between Wick and Kane in that moment and how that moment ends, I thought all of that stuff really solidified my place of that being one of the top.
Scene really starts with the staircase. And that staircase sequence is going to go down in history as one of the best movie sequences, not just action sequences, but certainly one of the best action sequences. And what I really appreciated around the marketing of John Wick Chapter 4 is they did not show everything that was in the movie, in the trailers. Whereas you were talking about last week with Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, like the big action beats of that film are all over the trailers, right? And so there weren't a lot of surprises in Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, except for the way maybe how those all connected together. Whereas in this one, you know, the trailer gave you enough, but it held back on its best bits.
It did. Another movie that I really enjoyed, and I believe this is my number 5 again. I have to double check my list.
You don't have it memorized?
I know, I should.
It into my brain,
I should.
Bryan.
But I know we have some commonalities, so I'll just bring this up, which is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Okay.
I absolutely love this movie. I think James Gunn did a fantastic job of really wrapping up this trilogy. I think it does a great job of telling this Rocket story in such a profound and emotional and a very sensitive way
and all that
to tell a story.
Was laid out in the first movie. You know.
Yeah, it was.
This is an extension of what we guessed at in the first film and the second film.
Yeah, but hold that thought.
Okay.
All right.
That's not your 4th film?
No.
That's not your 4th film?
Which one? No.
Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yes,
Okay.
but we'll continue that conversation of Guardians of the Galaxy. But when we return,
commercials.
We'll continue our discussion of our top movies of 2023 when we come back.
Shut up.
No.
When I got the opportunity to get her, there wasn't no choice. I told myself, I'm gonna take custody of my daughter. It's my baby. That's what we're supposed to do as men. Take care of our home, build a foundation, you know what I'm saying? Love, our money, she's my purpose. I'm here to walk with her, hold her hand until she can walk alone. Ain't nothing like being a father in this world.
We are back, and we're going to continue our discussion of the top films of 2023. We're in the middle of talking about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So, Brad, sorry to interrupt you, but
Guardians of the Volume 3 is my number 4. That's what I was trying to say. That's what I was trying to say. I love this movie. You know, we're in a place where I think the conversation around superhero cinema and Marvel movies in particular is like, fatigue. And, you know, if they keep giving us movies like The Flash, I understand. I understand. But and I know that's a DC movie. Don't get at me. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is just a good movie. If you just keep giving me good movies, good superhero movies, I will show up.
And I think that's what it is when the conversation comes around fatigue. It's not fatigue of these movies, maybe fatigue of the discourse around these movies, but it's just the fatigue of mediocrity. And I think the thing that James Gunn and these Guardians movies have been able to do is not be mediocre. I mean, you could see the passion behind the movies, and it comes through in the filmmaking and the storytelling. Let's get to our number 3. Yes. I just say my number 3, and I don't know if you have this in your top 5, but we talked about it a few weeks ago. Past Lives.
Oh, it's my number 3, Bryan.
Oh, nice.
There we go.
Perfect. There we go.
Simpatico.
So Past Lives. This movie is. We talked about it before on the podcast, on the show. But this movie is just. I'm gonna say it. Beautifully directed. One of the best directorial debuts I think I've seen in
Celine
long
Song.
run. Celine Song.
Here to stay.
Yes, can't wait to see what she does next.
It's an immigrant story, right? You know, she leaves Korea, comes to America, and before she left Korea, she had just started up a little bit of a child romance with a boy, and they reconnect via Skype. And the second act of this film is just these series of Skype conversations, and that sounds so boring to me.
Yeah.
But the way that Celine Song shoots those Skype sequences, and then the way that those Skype sequences are written, I mean, wow! That is exciting filmmaking.
It's extremely exciting filmmaking, and I love all the character work that's done in this. But it's also just the filmmaking. And this is not really a spoiler, but there's a point when Arthur comes when he's introduced.
An invader.
Yeah, he's introduced, and there's just a shot of the windowsill and the way the wind blows, and just that single shot stands out in my head from that movie. Again, beautifully directed. I absolutely love this movie.
Yeah, and maybe the best third act I've seen all year.
Yes.
You know, in the bar.
The last 20 minutes.
Three people having a conversation, or at least two of those three people having a conversation.
Yeah.
And the way that third wheel is pushed out of the frame, it's so effective. My number 2 is Wes Anderson's new movie, Asteroid City, which I know is a film that you did not engage with, and I respect that, and I don't think less of you. Don't worry, Bryan.
Thank you.
But I adored Asteroid City. I think it's one of Wes Anderson's better films. I think it is a very complicated movie and plays even better on a second watch and a third watch and a fourth watch. It's a movie that I certainly will be going back to many, many more times.
You've convinced me, even with our last conversation when we reviewed it on the show, to actually go back for a second viewing of this movie. And again, my theater experience of watching this movie kind of got interrupted, and that kind of affected my viewing of the film to really kind of engage with what was happening from the start. So I definitely do want to go back and revisit this film.
What you see in the trailer is only part of the movie.
Yeah.
What's so fascinating about Asteroid City is that section is a section that's being filmed by a television crew that had already put it on as a stage play. And so you're watching actors playing characters, and then the way that those layers crumble into each other by the end of the film, I found just so compelling.
Okay. My number 2 is the Guy Ritchie, The Covenant.
Oh, The Covenant.
Yes, you forgot about that.
I should have known. I had forgotten about it.
No, and
I love that our number 2s are like.
It's so funny. I know.
You love that film. I was weak on Covenant. I love Asteroid City. You were weak on Asteroid
I know.
City.
It's interesting, but The Covenant, and I know, again, and like I said, with my viewing experience of Asteroid City and your viewing experience, it's two different experiences, but how that affected how you respond.
Probably true.
Yeah, but me going to see The Covenant and seeing that story and seeing the relationship between Jake Gyllenhaal and Dar Salim and those characters and just that story of the interpreters and that relationship, and then what basically the bond that's formed between the two of them and what Jake Gyllenhaal ultimately decides to do to rescue him because of the covenant and the bond that they have. All of that stuff I thought really worked for me in this movie, and it was just really just that emotional connection between these two characters. It just really sold me on the movie, and I thought Guy Ritchie bringing his style, I was worried about how his style would really work in a movie like this, but you see some of his visual flourishes in the movie, and I think it really works in the way that he doubles back to see things from different perspectives, and I think he uses that in an emotional way to really sell you on the different perspectives that these two men are looking at the situation in. Absolutely love this movie, but so we're going to take a break.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about our number 1 movie. So stay right there. When we come back, we're going to let you know what our number 1 movie of 2023 is so far. Do we both have the same one? Stay tuned. You'll find out soon. Yeah.
Every 2 minutes, a woman is diagnosed with breast cancer. With your help, we can end breast cancer. We are all stronger together.
I know, right? Welcome back to B&B Movie Reviews. So we have talked about our not our most anticipated, our top movies of the year so far. So we're going to get into our number one. So, Brad.
Should we say it in 3, 2, 1?
You want to do it?
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, Plane.
That's yours. Okay, Plane. I see.
No.
I was going to let you go.
It's
Yeah.
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Across the Spider-Verse. Yes. Plane was a lot of fun, though.
Sure it was for you.
But yeah, Across the Spider-Verse, man. I mean, it's kind of basic to say at this point because we've talked about this movie, it feels like to death, but at the same time, I can't help but say that this movie is fantastic. It's great.
Well, like I said at the start of the show, it's one of the best action films of the year.
Yeah.
And then as a continuation of what we got in Into the Spider-Verse, it achieved the impossible. Like, I just didn't think I could possibly see a movie that was a sequel to Into the Spider-Verse that would be better somehow, and I feel like this is. And on top of the amazing visuals, like the astonishing visuals, there's really no film out there right now that looks like this one. The heart of the story and what it does for Miles's character, and where it's going to take him is so powerful, but then it doesn't let go of all the other supporting characters either. You know, this is as much Spider-Gwen's story as it is Miles' story.
Yeah, and their parents and everybody. I mean, it's a two-hander with Miles and Gwen's story, and that's the thing that I love about it. And even going back to what we said about Volume 3, Guardians of the Galaxy, you feel the passion behind the filmmakers making these projects. And I think that's why those are the two movies this summer that has really resonated with people and that has really kind of like captured the imagination of people is because the filmmakers love these movies. They are passionate about these characters. They're passionate about these stories, and that comes through when people are watching it.
And the filmmakers know that the film doesn't have to keep running the whole time. You know, it can stop, it can pause, it can have moments like you get in A24's Past Lives in Across the Spider-Verse, where we just sit with these characters for a moment.
Yeah. So those are our top 5 of the year. Any honorable mentions? Anything that you want to talk about?
You know, if you look at our
or
set
mention?
here, we got some really fun movies. Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves was maybe the biggest surprise of the year for me.
Dungeons was a lot of fun. It's definitely, it's creeping into my top, it's easily in my top 10 of the year. I
also think that there's another Guy Ritchie movie that I actually preferred from than The Covenant, and that's Operation Fortune, Ruse de Guerre, the Jason Statham, Aubrey Plaza movie with Hugh Grant doing some of the best scenery chewing of the year. This movie has gotten just hammered by critics. Not a lot of people went out to check it out. But I think it's a lot of fun. Josh Hartnett's so good. And the opening sequence of Operation Fortune with those footsteps and that robbery.
So good, so good. So let's, looking forward to what we have coming on the back half of 2023.
Lots to be excited about.
Yeah, there's a lot of movies to be excited about coming out over these next 5 to 6 months. So I'll kind of kick it off. I'll kind of go in order. We got, in a couple of weeks, there's a couple of movies in August, of course, I'm looking forward to. And is it my most anticipated? I won't put these in any order, but in August, I'm really looking forward to Mutant Mayhem.
Yeah, the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I will put it in order. This is my most anticipated film of the year. We're both massive turtle heads.
Yes.
You know, Seth Rogen's production company jumping on board to tell this story from a teenage perspective, something that's actually never happened with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles story.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to that. And again, when we talked about Spider-Verse, the animation style, how it kind of has like that sketch art style that we're seeing, and to see that animated is bringing something new and different to it that really hasn't been, I don't want to say hasn't been, who knows, but it's just something different, a different energy that we're seeing with the Turtles that we haven't seen before.
Absolutely. And, you know, we just got 17 character posters, you know, Maya Rudolph and Paul Rudd and John Cena. It's got a stacked voice cast, and we're going to get so many mutants, and I get a little nervous when I see so many characters.
Same.
At the same time, based on the trailers, based on the people who are making this, I have total faith that it's going to execute well, and I'm pumped for it.
I guess just to kind of maybe close out August for myself as far as most anticipated, and they just released a new trailer for it, which really kind of sold me even more. I'm looking forward to Blue Beetle, if I'm being honest, man. I like that new trailer that just dropped. I like the fact that it's a smaller superhero.
I love
that
the
is not. I love the design. I love the fact that it's not a world-ending story. That it's a more intimate story. I love the family dynamic of that. Cholo Maridueña, if I'm saying his name right, who's playing Jaime Reyes. I don't know. I'm liking everything that I'm seeing. I think that with that most recent trailer, it has really sold me, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what this movie is going to do.
There is a film coming out in August that I had a chance to see at Fantastic Fest last year in Texas. It's called Medusa Deluxe. And no one's talking about it. No one's heard about it. It is a film that is set in England at a, I don't know what they call them. It's a hair wig competition where stylists build these incredible feats of architecture on models' heads. And someone has been murdered at the start of the competition, and the camera just floats through this competition, meeting all these various weirdos and strange characters, trying to solve who killed this person at this event and why.
Oh, I like that.
And
that sounds interesting.
It's scary at times, it's thrilling at times, but mostly these characters are just fascinating.
Okay, and that's coming out in August.
August 11th, I believe.
Okay, so yeah, so I'll definitely look out for that. So when we return to the show, we will continue our conversation of our most anticipated movies of 2023 for the rest of the year. Stay right there.
Today's cancer research is tomorrow's victory. A victory that is there for the taking. Grab it.
Now that was a great halftime speech. Let's go win.
Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
Welcome back to B&B Movie Reviews. We are continuing our discussion on our most anticipated movies for the rest of 2023. So, Brad, I know there's two movies that we both have in common that we're both excited about seeing the rest of this year. I'll start, one is in October, Killers of the Flower Moon.
New Martin Scorsese film.
Yeah.
It's, what, 4 hours long?
I know, right?
It's a long, long movie. That runtime makes me a little nervous.
It does.
But I've really enjoyed the last batch of Martin Scorsese movies. I like most Martin Scorsese movies. This trailer is hypnotic. It's based on a best-selling book, and we sold a heck of a lot of it when I worked at Barnes & Noble. So yeah, I'm pumped.
Dude, I'm looking forward to this. When the new trailer just dropped recently, and I saw that trailer, and they actually played it in the theater recently when I saw it as well, that sold me on it. I was always curious about this movie and wanted to see a little bit more from this, but that trailer, like the point of a trailer is to kind of raise your anticipation for a movie. This definitely did it. A brilliant trailer that has really gotten me more excited to check this movie out. The runtime scares me a little bit. I've heard it's 320, but I mean, Scorsese, I mean, you can't really go wrong, especially with what he's been doing lately. I know we're also looking forward. Now, I wasn't a big fan of Part 1, but the more and more I watch that movie, the more and more I like it.
So you have revisited it?
I have revisited it, and I'm talking about Dune. So we have Dune Part 2, and we talked about that we went and saw Mission Impossible, the Uvar Hazy, and they showed an IMAX trailer for Dune Part 2, and this thing looks incredible.
Yeah. Denis Villeneuve, one of my favorite directors. I was madly, deeply, truly in love with Dune Part 1, and I'm itching to see the second film. And yeah, that trailer, the latest one, is intoxicating. And maybe it shows a little too much. You know, I worry about those things, but you know, I'm drunk on it.
Anything else coming out that you're looking forward to as well?
There's lots of stuff coming out. You know, Thanksgiving, we're going to get a new Ridley Scott movie. Joaquin Phoenix as Napoleon. The trailer for that recently dropped. You know, Joaquin Phoenix as Napoleon. That's weird. You know, he's not doing any accent
No
work.
French
It's just
accent,
Joaquin Phoenix. But the scale of that is immense. So Ridley Scott doing epic. It's like Scorsese doing, epic. You got to show up.
You do. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Ridley Scott. He's been making these epic movies for decades, and of course, we know we have Gladiator 2 coming out next year that he's directing, and with Joaquin Phoenix, who was last in a Ridley Scott movie, was the original Gladiator, which was 23 years ago, and a movie I love. I love Gladiator. So yeah, when Ridley Scott makes these kind of epic, historical period dramas, you got to show up to it.
Yeah, and he's playing with, anachronisms maybe a little bit in this one. It feels like, it doesn't feel like a dusty historical pick. It feels like we're following modern day characters, and I appreciate that approach.
Yeah, another movie, a smaller movie I'm looking forward to, a director that's kind of going back to his roots, is Taika Waititi with Next Goal Wins.
Yeah, very curious.
I believe that comes out September, or the September time frame. He's done the last 2 Thor movies. The last one, I know you're a big fan of that, but it's been mixed. But I've always liked Taika when he's done some of his smaller movies.
Hunt for the
Wilder People, Jojo Rabbit. So seeing the trailer for Next Goal Wins and seeing a little bit of that comedy come back and knowing the heart that he puts into his movies, really looking forward to Next Goal Wins.
Yeah, Nina Costa's got the Marvels coming out. I've got you support your superhero movie, Blue Beetle. I'll support my superhero movie, The Marvels. I'm really excited to see Kamala Khan on the big screen.
Same, man.
The trailer I'm not super won over by. I'm a little nervous.
I know.
But I also trust those characters, and I trust that filmmaker, and my excitement's still there. October, we haven't seen any trailers for this yet, but supposedly another Saw film is coming out, Saw 10.
Okay.
We talked about it way back at the beginning of this year as one of my most anticipated films of this year. I love that ridiculous franchise.
Fingers crossed it still comes out.
Fingers crossed. I hope it goes back to those absurd switchbackings of plot. I would love to find out that Saw 10 is taking place in between Saws 2 and 3, the way that some of those old Saw films did. So,
another one I'm looking forward to that's coming out in theaters, but it's from a streaming service, is also Rebel Moon. I know we've talked about this before. We've seen a couple of behind-the-scenes stuff. There was a story that came out recently that this was a pitch that Zack Snyder did for a possible Star Wars movie when Disney acquired Lucasfilm. So the fact that he's taking these ideas that he pitched as a Star Wars movie and kind of creating his own universe, I'm curious about it. And I really want to see what he does with that story and with that scale and the scope of this story.
I wish I could go back in time to the Zack Snyder fan that I was pre-Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, which is a film that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
But, Dawn of the Dead, 300, Watchmen, what's that owl movie, The Legends of Ga'Hoole? I loved all of those films so much. But I have to say that the online discourse post Dawn of Justice, post Justice League, and the weird, toxic community that has snowballed around Zack Snyder, I find so distasteful. So that anytime there's anticipation for a new Zack Snyder movie and those cockroaches come out of the,
and I feel the same way, and it's hard, but I can't deny that I am looking forward to seeing, and I like seeing Zack Snyder away from DC and what he does. But I'm gonna bring one up that you haven't mentioned that I know you're excited for. We can talk about that real quick. David Fincher's next.
Yeah, The Killer on Netflix. I am very, very, very excited for it. David Fincher with oh my God, Michael Fassbender.
Yeah.
That's a great combination. Michael Fassbender, he's also going to be in Next Goal Wins.
Yeah.
He's been missing a little while. I know. I need him back in my life. And so to get these 2 films from 2 singular filmmakers, that's exciting.
Yeah, so there's a lot I think to look forward to in the second half of this.
You mentioned The Equalizer 3.
That's another one I'm
excited.
actually, yeah, I mean.
Robert Richardson doing the cinematography on that.
You can't go wrong with that. Oh, man. So, yeah, a lot to look forward to. So I'm excited about the second half of 2023. And then we'll see where we land with our top 10 at the end of this year. So those are our thoughts of our most anticipated movies of 2023 for the rest of this year, and also our top 5 of the year so far. So thank you for joining us on this latest episode of B&B Movie Reviews. Come be a part of the conversation. If you have questions, suggestions, feel free to email us at bnbmoviereviews@gmail.com. And with that, we will see you at the movies. So.